All right. So welcome back. We're gonna do chapter 5 today of Marketing is Freedom. It is difficult to be a king in your own backyard. And I'm going to tell you, the first time I heard this, and it came from a mentor group, I didn't quite understand what it meant. I was also very young. I was 15. I was at a training with some veterans of a direct sales industry, and they brought this up there, and it mainly came up because people were struggling to have a new identity with a business they're doing, right? So imagine it's actually, I mean, you think about it, the people you grow up with. I'm going to prelude before I read this because it's such a strong point. The people you grew up with, they see you as the little you, the young you, the one that had the pigtails and the braces, or the obnoxious youth, or the guy with the list. They remember you for things that you probably outgrew. They remember you for things that aren't your best characteristics usually, and they will literally give a stranger more creed and credibility than you, no matter how much integrity you had in your life and the things you've done. It's a funny way that things look, and it's an environmental thing. It's one of those things that the broken environment definitely guises and grows up that way, and it's really hard for us to come together and realize that people are growing into their own because you see them every day, or you see them all the time, and then a perfect stranger comes in and they get more credibility. And this is why it's really important to have a support team, or when you're building a business, is have somebody else that is a stranger to them, because they will get more credibility because they didn't see them grow up. They're seeing him in the person there is, and that first impression is, this person's well put together. They didn't see him in their awkward stages, right? And it goes to say too, because you might have been in another career before you took a leap into the world of marketing, for instance, where you might have been you might have been a clerk at the retail store. You might have been doing something else where they saw you, and now you're in a business role and you're an owner versus the employee, and they've already put you in the employee bucket. And there's a difference. I'll tell you personally, being a business owner as long as I have, when you go into a room of peers and they know you're a business owner, the respect level is different versus someone that works for somebody else. The respect level is different. You all know what sacrifices you have to make. It's just different. It's a club of its own, really, because it takes grit to be a business owner. It takes massive risk. You don't just show up and get paid. You've got to make sure things work, or you don't get paid. All right. So chapter 5, it is difficult to be a king in your own backyard. Well, this is going to be a fun chapter. It also is going to be a huge kick in the ass of success for many. I have studied and studied people for hours and hours and single days, watching them from a marketing and sales perspective. I have been mentored by incredible speakers, motivational trainers, and highly successful people in many areas of life. I have found that doing something great in the city, town, or community you grew up in is difficult. It all has to do with perception. I had a mentor who was very educated. He was on the board of the computer telephony company I was the sole marketer for. He spoke 5 languages fluently and was sought after by many international firms. One of the times we broke bread, discussed things, and traveled together, one thing he said has helped me tremendously. It has been a foundational point of understanding in almost everything I do in the way of marketing. It is the foundation to which I always begin, and it belongs here for the sheer fact that it sums up this entire chapter in 3 words. Perception is reality. The perception of those you are looking to market to and then sell to matters the most. Not what your perception is. What we ourselves perceive is where our reality lies, right or wrong. Same goes for the customer or potential customer. While perception is reality, it is also something you must never forget. It is the main concern with anything to be marketed. And this is where we start with you and being a king in your own backyard. See, we grow up, develop who we are to become, typically within the same circles of influence for most of our lives. Our family, our friends, neighbors, and community. These very people that we grow up with and in front of us are perception biased. They will have a perception of you that is bound by your childhood. They will be so biased they will not see the growth and capacities you have as you become a better you. They will only see the kid that hit a baseball through their window, that girl who wore pigtails in elementary school. They will see you for the worst parts of you out of bias. Peers will not want you to do better than them and will naturally root against you. Family can be even more harsh. The perceptions of the wealthy in income and life balance are far different. There is an amazing growth and understanding as you allow yourself to achieve. Unfortunately, this is where things are not equal for all. Those with environments that are not of wealth and abundance in all things will have a whole different perception and support or lack of. And while it is sad, it is perception. And therefore, it is a reality. You can overcome this, however. See, it is a human nature for the lesser abundant and wealthy-minded individuals to give a total stranger more credibility than someone they watched grow up. A perfect stranger will be given far more benefit of the doubt and an ear to speak to, especially with a new idea. Knowing this allows you to adjust and to offer a way to win. It is bringing in a third party to endorse the new idea or business. And while you will need this in your own environment, you will be the same support and third party to endorse for others in the same way. I'm going to stress that, right? And while you will need this in your own environment, you will be the same support and third party to endorse for others in the same way. Where you're not a king in your own backyard, you are a king in someone else's backyard. I'll put it out there bluntly. And we work together in teams to overcome this. It's, again, perception is reality, and there's a way to overcome it, and that is to be the new guy, the outsider coming in with more credibility. You will find it easier to build with like-minded strangers that you meet for the first time rather than those from your established environment. This is also why I will have a trusted partner explain any new idea or business to someone I know rather than present it myself. For it is only when someone else edifies you and your part in a new idea or business that someone can allow their perception to be changed, and therefore their reality to be changed. Because it is a new person, they will genuinely give them more respect than you. It is an odd but true perception. And since perception is reality, after all, who presents does matter. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to break here for a second. It's one thing when you're established. Like I can tell you, my peer groups and the people I deal with, I've been a marketer pretty much my entire life, right? And so they know that, and I have that expertise. When you come into the marketing field for being somewhere else, they know you as something else, right? If you were a barber, they know you as the barber. It's really hard for them to shift their paradigm if you go in a different direction, right? It's really hard, especially when they see you go from being the employee to the business owner. That is a leap that in a lot of them, everybody wants to control their own domain. No one really likes to be, subject to somebody else's time clock, right? They really don't. But when they see you break free of that. Now, what's really nice on the edification, I'm just going to go here really quick, is when somebody that has more credibility than you because they're a stranger edifies you and is grateful and shows gratitude for what you've done and helped them, now they're going to see you in a whole different light because somebody else presented it in a way they could buy into it. And that is an important thing to happen. Now they can be engaged in the process of, oh my gosh, Bob grew. Bob's part of this and Bob's helped this guy. But oh my gosh, Bob's onto something. And then it's easier for them to kind of, get behind you because the idea wasn't yours to them. It was someone else's to theirs. And that just works in the perception of what they need to see. It's just part of that process. It's a human thing. It's a people thing. It's a really odd thing that doesn't necessarily make logical sense, but it's a reality. And I've seen it over and over again to know that's pretty much how it goes. This entire reasoning behind perception is reality and the fact that you cannot be a king in your own backyard is also an explanation why marketing is not an overnight success. It takes time, something I call the patient process. When building a business or sharing a new idea to your existing environment, knowing what you are up against is key. It is not impossible, but it takes more time than dealing with complete strangers. I consider it a thermometer of success. For when those from your environment become open and supportive, know you have done your marketing well. Also, do not count on it, but absolutely celebrate it. It was years before people from my environment to which I grew up were coming to me for new ideas or business directions. It took a while. In fact, it may have been decades before it became anything steady. Truth. Um, this is why the vast reach of the internet keeps giving and giving. Anything I tend to pursue should have a national, if not global, reach. Based upon numbers and stats alone, the bigger your reach, the bigger your odds of success. And since the internet is only growing in users, global reach, and constantly growing, it only makes sense to be a part of it. It is just too large not to be. I know I'm being Captain Obvious here, but it's such a cool, it's such a grand point. Even if you are a small boutique store in a small town, the internet gives you access to the globe. Use it. And as I conclude that for chapter 5, I want to point this out there because this is something you don't know what you don't know, right? And when you are not a king in your backyard, you don't realize it. When you start a new business, who do you go to start out with? Family and friends, neighbors, colleagues, and you're going to people that have the perception of what you were, not what you're becoming or what you're trying to become, and it's literally an uphill battle, and you're going against their perception, which is reality. And that is why it's really hard to take off. There's so many things that go against us when we start a new venture. And most of us, because of you just don't know, right? You don't know, you don't know. You literally launch your business right into an uphill thing. You don't have a lot of experience with it yet, and you're going at it, and it's like everything's up against you, and it feels defeating. Well, that's because you stacked yourself without knowing. You didn't do it on purpose, I'm sure, but you stacked yourself for defeat because you're going against perception as reality, where your perception is not where you think it is, because it's where they think it is, and that's what matters. So there's tools around that, and those tools become your weapons to build your perception, right? They become your weapons to change the perception they see, therefore changing the reality that they realize with you. And that's why you get to it. And I almost like to say, like, I focus on family and friends, secondary, later, after I've already established things. I've got more expertise in it. I've allowed myself to grow and develop. I've also built a name in that state. And also I've built success doing it with perfect, like strangers or people that you come off your marketing techniques and everything with. It's actually easier. And when you go to your, environment in your own backyard, I'll say, and you've already got success and stuff going forward, it's a lot easier to swing that perception, especially when you've got a third party stranger that edifies you and says, look what they've done this, they've done that. Now your perception can be changed because you're giving them new facts to base their perception on. And it's not coming from you, it's coming from a third party source that's going to be trusted more than you, because it's not you, it's somebody they don't know, right? That's how that works. And the more you understand that, I think it'll help people too, especially when you're going to something new, like you've never been a business owner, or you've never been someone that represented products or services, and now you're into that marketing realm, and you wonder why it's so tough. This will help you to understand why it's so tough and how to get around it. But it'll also let you realize, like, hey, if you want to take this and take it to family and friends because you're so excited, just realize you picked an uphill battle, and there's tools around it. Use them. Talk to you guys in the next one. Bye for now.